Hey everybody, it's Brando here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. I am, as today we are talking about one of my favourite games ever made. I still haven't, at the time of recording this, thought of a video name for this. So it's just Pikmin. Pikmin is one of my favourite games ever. We're going to talk about it today. This game has been a massive part of my life while I was growing up. I've basically played this, the Pikmin series at this point for, well, longer in my life than I haven't, which is quite scary to think about. This game was actually my first attempt at doing kind of speed running things, and it has had just a massive impact on how I play games up until this day. I always look for, how can I make this route the quickest? How can I do this to make me play better? It's had a massive impact on how I enjoy this massive medium. So the game of Pikmin has been re-released 3 times at this point. 4 if you count the Wii U, but that's just a Wii version. So we have the GameCube, the Wii, and the version of the game which I'm recording today, the Nintendo Switch version. Now, all biases aside, the best way to play this game, in my opinion, is on the Nintendo Wii, as those pointer controls are just unmatched. Pikmin was made for pointing controls. But I think other than that, the only other thing I have to say before we get started is this game is very difficult to describe to someone, and that's kind of what influenced me to make this video, was being sat down with one of my friends and him asking me, because I have a tattoo of Pikmin. He went, "What's that?" And I spent about 5 minutes fumbling an explanation of the game. So this is for you, mate. Without any further ado, let's get into the story. So, Pikmin follows the story of Captain Olimar as he crash lands on a undiscovered planet, which we might all find very familiar. It's Earth. It's just Earth in like a very, well, I mean, at this point in the story we don't know as of Pikmin 4, but in Pikmin 1 it's a very like, Earth has just been wiped out. We've had, something's happened, all the weird wildlife and everything is all that exists. It's such a cool setting for the game. Shortly after the Olimar's crash landing caused by a meteor, which you will see in the cutscene that's playing, he crash lands in an area that he goes on to name the impact site, where, after he lands and regains consciousness, he finds something buried in the ground. Now, this is the most important part in Pikmin in the entire series, as this is the first discovery of Pikmin. So what he finds is called an onion, which sprouts a red seed. Now, normally, personally, if I were to crash land on an alien planet and I saw some really weird red machine spit out a seed, I would be running in the other direction. But that aside, Olimar plucks out this seed, and we have the very first introduction to Pikmin being the red Pikmin, the mascot of the series, basically. Shortly after, Olimar discovers that these Pikmin can reproduce in numbers using, in this case, pellets. So he goes around the impact site, he grows up the numbers, and he explores the area a little bit. And, well, by chance, the most important shit part for him at this point in the game is right in front of him. Using a Pikmin's abilities to work as a team and to carry the engine, he gets it delivered to the SS Dolphin and manages to be able to moderately take off just up into the Earth's atmosphere, so he can kind of look down, choose where he's going to land from then on. During the takeoff sequence, he also realises that the onion is kind of not attached to him, but it wants to follow him. It understands that he needs its help, and from this point on we are escaping the impact site, and we're going to talk about the little guys that make this game so special. So before we go on to talk about anything else in the game, the most glaring thing that we need to talk about is the little Pikmin themselves. There are 3 types of Pikmin in this game, and this little short deviation from the video, we're going to talk about each of the Pikmin, their strengths, what they're not able to do, and it'll give you guys a bit more of an understanding of what you're watching with the gameplay in the background. So first up we have the red Pikmin, the first Pikmin to be discovered, and they are the best at fighting. They hit the hardest, and very luckily, you couldn't be able to tell by the colour, they're immune to fire, because of course they're immune to fire. So They're probably the best Pikmin for the player to go for in intense combat scenarios, you know, when you have to fight bigger enemies, large enemies, if you need something broken down quickly, these are your guys to call for. Yellow Pikmin are the second type of Pikmin to be discovered, and they are initially found within the Forest of Hope, the second area of the game. We will talk about more about the areas later on in the video. It's just important for me to get this part out of the way. They are the lightest type of Pikmin in the game, which is really weird because you can't, as a player, really feel the weight of a Pikmin. There's no like vibration or anything that kind of gives you an indication. But because they're the lightest, they can be thrown the highest and the furthest, meaning they can reach some places that the other two types of Pikmin can't reach. And they have the amazing ability to carry what are called bomb rocks in this game. So these bomb rocks can do a ton of damage to enemies and walls, and there are specific walls which are mostly like there to cut down like your route time, which can be broken only by bomb rocks. So it makes these guys a very valuable asset in our adventure on this planet. Last but certainly not least, we have the blue Pikmin. Now these guys are probably the second most useful type of Pikmin, just underneath the reds, and they have the ability to traverse water. So whereas the red and yellow Pikmin will just drown. If you don't whistle them after they touch water, they're gone for. The blue Pikmin are able to traverse water and even help out other Pikmin who are drowning. These guys are located in the Forest Navel, in like the first discovered area. God, I lost my words then. They are really, really cool. They have, you can actually tell, they're the only Pikmin that have like a mouth type thing. So these are actually gills, which allow them to breathe under the water, which is really cool. And the amount of puzzles that utilise the blue Pikmin is amazing. They're definitely not the most used type in the game, but they use a lot less sparingly than, say, the yellows, and it creates some really cool opportunity for puzzle making and puzzle solving by the player. So, going from talking about the Pikmin to talking about the areas of the game, we are starting off with the impact sites. Now, we did briefly touch on the impact sites just at the very start. This is the tutorial level of Pikmin, and it does an amazing job of that. The mechanics this game teaches you within this area is great. You're kind of left to your own devices on the initial landing. So the player learns how to throw Pikmin. They get described how to mash the A button to keep plucking the Pikmin. You know, this is how you can swarm the Pikmin to just completely cover an enemy. It's one of the best tutorial levels in gaming, but it gets better. Revisiting this area after you've encountered the other two types of Pikmin uncovers a second layer to the impact sites through a bomb rock wall. There are enemies called pearly clams. I might be getting that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the name. And there is a hidden ship part which needs blue Pikmin to be located. On top of this, the pearly clams that don't have a ship part have these pearls inside of them, allowing the player to create a ton more. I think it's 50. So if you have two of those, you get an extra 100 Pikmin. So this area isn't just there as a tutorial. It's there to kind of, especially for a new player, it's a safe place. You know, you can return here, build up your Pikmin numbers, get all your Pikmin flowered. It's just a really nice area. It's just a great place to learn the game mechanics. They did an outstanding job with this area. So, secondly on our list of areas is the Forest of Hope. Now this is like your introduction to Pikmin. This is a wide open area, but you don't really have any kind of rush behind you, which is weird for a game with like a pre-planned time limit of 30 days. But it works, you know, the player can kind of observe and figure out the mechanics without having to have everything described to them. So, say in the case of the dwarf bulbul, the player can kind of observe how this guy moves around, you know, how he moves from area to like little like patrol paths, and they can go, oh okay, he stops here, let me throw a Pikmin here, and the player is rewarded, say, for an accurate hit with a Pikmin by getting an instant kill on the dwarf bulbulbs. Now, just steering away from the dwarf bulbulbs to their slightly larger, not parents actually, as you'll find out in the game's sequels, but the caregivers of these little guys, these spotty bulbulbs. These are a lot more of a challenge. Now, you can't just throw your Pikmin right at them and expect to not have any of them get eaten. And I mean, I remember my first time playing the game, I definitely learned this the hard way. So the way to get past these beasts is to try and like guide your Pikmin around the side, and so there's an ability called a swarm. So you swarm the back of these spotted bulbs, and they kind of can't really fight back, and you get basically a free kill. Now within this area, we also discovered the yellow Pikmin, which we obviously touched on earlier. And as an extension of the yellow Pikmin, we were also introduced to the bomb rocks. There are quite a few bomb rock walls in this area, as you'll see in the gameplay. And each little one like helps the player to create a shortcut to another section of the game. So, not the game, the area, sorry. So, yeah, it kind of helps the player, and on a return with the blue Pikmin, it kind of allows the player to go, okay, I can see this here, and there's actually some little sequence breaking you can do with some of the areas. So, say there's an area with a ledge, where if you go through a blue Pikmin, you can just traverse up through the water and go to a ship part. Whereas if you were to land here on the second day straight away and throw your Pikmin on the edge, you can sneak around an enemy, go and grab your Pikmin and then return. So this game kind of doesn't just encourage players to return to new areas, it encourages them to keep playing the game over and over and over, to keep improving their times. You know, as I was saying earlier, that's what really got me into speedrunning games, is this how this game kind of treats the player. The game has a lot of respect for the player. It's like, you can do what you want. If you mess up, you know, I mean, you're going to feel really guilty because you can see all these little Pikmin ghosts everywhere. But you then know, you know, you can't just run into these enemies. You can't just throw caution to the wind. You know, it's not a steep learning curve at all. It's just a very rewarding learning curve. You know, understanding how to play the game is like a massive impact of your enjoyment of Pikmin. Next on our list of areas is the Forest Navel. Now this is contrasted to a lot of the other areas of the game, as we're kind of in a crevice. It's a very dim area. It's having large aquatic sections as well, which is the first time we see this in the game, which is perfect for the newly introduced blue Pikmin, which we touched on earlier. So these guys are just like in their element here. There are so many like little areas I can go into. Some ship parts actually require blue Pikmin to grab, or are better for blue Pikmin to grab. In the case of one of the jets, which you might see in this gameplay, where you know you could kind of get it with some other Pikmin, but there's just no need to. And there is actually, as we will talk about later, a amazing use of all three Pikmin types. But before we go over that, let's talk about one of the best bosses in this game, the BD Longlegs. Now this guy is one of the two bosses in this area, and he's just like, it's scary to come across this. Like, it's not an arachnid, but it's very similar to an arachnid. It's very tall, and this kind of teaches the player that there is, you know, you can't just use your red Pikmin all the time, because they just won't reach him 90% of the time. So, you know, going into this boss fight, if you're playing along with this video, use your yellow Pikmin. Take like a small squad of 20 with you so they don't get crushed by him. Throw them up, because they would just be able to absolutely annihilate him, and there's not a lot of fighting back that this guy can do when you're just hitting him all the time. And the second boss in this area is called the Puffstall. This is a very weird boss. I love it. So this guy, if you give him the opportunity to, which I didn't in this recording as far as I can remember, he will actually like kind of fungify or like mind control your Pikmin, and they will actually start attacking you, the player, which is just really weird. You just don't expect it. So to take this thing out quickly is definitely the best cut. You know, it's just the best idea to do, really, isn't it? You know, you want to get this guy out of the way straight away. Now, within the Forest Navel is one of my favourite examples of what Pikmin does right. There is a puzzle which requires 3 different types of Pikmin to get done. you have to, let's have a look here. So I'm just looking at my notes. Using the reds to get through the fire, carrying a ship part back. The blue Pikmin to open up a geyser, so you yourself can jump up to where you've thrown yellow Pikmin to grab one of the ship parts down. Now, this is just kind of, it's a very scarce thing to see in Pikmin, all three types being used like this. But that doesn't mean that this isn't great, you know. It's a very rare example of a puzzle that uses all three types of Pikmin, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good puzzle. It's, you know, it gets you thinking, you know, on your first attempt for the game, you might go, oh, well, there's fire, I'm only going to bring my red Pikmin. And you'll be hit with a brick wall because you no matter how much you try, your red Pikmin aren't going to swim, and your red Pikmin aren't going to hit as high as the yellow Pikmin are. So it's a great learning experience for the player. Let's go on to the next area. So next up is the distant spring, and this is like the last big area in Pikmin. So there's one more area after this one, but this is the last one that kind of has like such a massive layout. It's kind of like an expanded Forest of Hope in this kind of sense. A lot of the puzzles in this area are kind of expansions on what we've seen before. So, for example, there's parts where you have to throw your Pikmin up onto a ledge and guide them along, but you can't just guide them along because there's going to be water in the way. So your yellow Pikmin are going to have to move a part down, and then you're going to have to swap out for blue Pikmin. That type of thing. You know, there's areas where you need to grab bomb rocks from like one section of the map, but to get to those bomb rocks, you need to use blue Pikmin to build over a bridge, and then you need to take out a spotted bull bear. So this is kind of like the idea of, you not necessarily have to use all three types of Pikmin, but if you were to use reds, blues and yellows, each for their best attributes, you're going to have a lot easier of a time. So it's kind of like pushing the player to experiment a little bit. Now, let's just talk about the enemies in this area, because they are some of the hardest enemies in the game. Starting off with our beautiful best friend, our bull bear and the dwarf bull bears. So, as the name implies, these guys are basically your dwarf bulbs and your spotted bulbs if they were taking steroids 24/7 and hitting the gym 8 hours a day. These guys are no joke. They attack faster and they have a lot more health. You can't just one hit kill a dwarf bull bear, as I found out actually for the first time on this run. I never realised it before. So, you know, it kind of makes the player plan out, okay, these guys look dangerous, let me just take a step back and let's just have a think about how we're going to approach this. Water dump pools are lurking in the water, specifically around quite a few of the ship parts. These guys are just like, they're no joke. They kind of hang around in clusters, so if you're going to throw your Pikmin at them, you kind of got to throw your Pikmin at all of them, or else you're just going to have a lot of them eaten. The time to kill on these guys is just insane. They will just keep munching at your Pikmin if you allow them to. And the final enemy that I kind of want to talk about for this area, the last one I think stands out, is called the Puffy Blowhog, which is just, I don't know why we had to call them a Puffy Blowhog. I think there could have been a million other names for these guys, but they are no joke. They will knock over your Pikmin and take the flowers off of them. So, you know, you go from having your squad of flowered up Pikmin, which, even though I haven't previously stated it because I had a mind lapse, the flowers kind of make your Pikmin faster and like make their attributes a bit quicker. So like, say like I don't think it affects the attack speed in your Pikmin one, but it affects the following speed and everything. So in some gameplay you'll see Pikmin with leaves like hanging around the back of the squad, and then up to flowers, they're definitely like up the front with the leader. There is one mini boss I want to talk about in this area. Anyone who's played Pikmin before, you got to know what I'm going to talk about here. This thing is like the definition of insanity. It's no joke. The Smoky Prog is an absolute menace in Pikmin 1, and it never returned until Pikmin 4 because they knew we were terrified of it. So this guy has its own elements. This guy is poisonous. No Pikmin in this game are immune to poison. If they touch the poison trail or even the wrong part of this dude's body, they are just instantly dead. There is not even an opportunity to save them. They just instantly die. So this guy will, unlike other mini bosses, he's making a beeline straight for your base. He's going for your Pikmin's onions, and what he will do is he will roar near the onions, and any Pikmin that are buried in the ground will be uprooted and put into a very vulnerable position in front of him, because obviously if you're not there to save them and guide them out of the way, he's just going to absolutely destroy them. As a reward for finding this guy's weak spot and killing him, we get a golden orb, which is very similar to the orbs that the pearly clams from the impact site drop, but this will give birth to 100 Pikmin. So it's no joke, and to be honest, on my run, this was the last obstacle I tackled before heading to the final area. The final trial. Now, as the name implies, this is the last area in Pikmin. To get to this area, you have to find 29 out of 30 ship parts, and you can kind of have a very good guess as to where the last ship part is going to be. Now, straight away in this area, there is a puzzle which utilises all three of your Pikmin types. Having to use reds to run through a series of fire geysers to push a cardboard box, using your yellow Pikmin to use bomb rocks to break down a wall, and your blue Pikmin to create bridges. Sorry, I kind of stammered a bit then. To create bridges over to the areas, in quick time, to finally get to and knock down a bramble wall to the game's final boss. Now, I don't really like leaving people in suspense here, but I'm just going to keep you going for a bit longer. Now, the atmosphere in this area is just unmatched within this game. You know something is lurking. Something's waiting for you. And that something is the Emperor Bulblax. Now, this guy is the final boss of Pikmin, and he is an absolute tank of a boss. Now, having a health bar fitting to his name and description is quite obvious. Now, this guy is not going down lightly. There is a very good strategy which I use to take this guy down, utilising the bomb rocks located around the arena, making this guy eat a sacrificial yellow Pikmin with a bomb rock so you can unload reds onto him while he's stunned after the bomb rock explodes inside of him is the best way to deal with this dude. But even then, you're not having a good time. As I said, he's an absolute tank. And during the latter stages of the boss fight, once you whittle down his health over and over, down, 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 once he gets into that low health range, he'll start jumping around the arena, and he will crush your Pikmin. He is no joke. Like, this guy is fitting of the name Emperor Bulblax. It's quite cool that the final boss is like the last evolution of the first enemy that we meet in the game. Bulblax. He's like he's the king. He's the King Bulbul. Now, this guy drops the last, but definitely the most useless ship part in the game. Olimar's piggy bank. Yep. Yeah, I don't think this is really worth sacrificing your Pikmin for, but you know what? We'll do that, and after you guys see his piggy bank get collected, we're going to talk about all three of the endings. So, I'm just going to give this bit of a disclaimer before I go through the endings. I'm going to have a quick description of each ending, and then we're just going to show you guys the cutscenes so we can have it nicely done. Lickety split, no issues. Here you go. Mark. The bad ending is the, worst ending you can get in Pikmin. In this ending, you have to have less than 25 ship parts, and you must not have collected all the necessary ship parts. Now, it actually took me quite a while to get this ending because of how generous the game is with time. So during this ending, Olimar will try and attempt to take off. Obviously not having enough ship parts to get himself back home, he will crash land. After finding the crash landing area, the Pikmin will carry Olimar to the onion and give birth to what can only be described as Olimar. So I'm going to stop talking if you guys can finish watching this cutscene. So the normal ending is what you guys are seeing right now. So to get this ending, you just don't have to 100% the game. The bare minimum for this ending is just getting all of the necessary ship parts. So doing this, the player manages to escape the Pikmin planet. You know, you get to watch a cutscene of Olimar taking off, shooting up into the stars, but he doesn't look back. You can watch it right here. So this is the good ending of Pikmin. To get this ending, you have to 100% the game. You have to collect every single ship part before day. Well, you could do it on day 30, but you know, we're not doing it on day 30 because we're no scrubs. This ending shows Olimar giving a very heartfelt goodbye to the Pikmin, but the Pikmin don't really understand this goodbye. They just kind of shake their heads a little bit and they're like, "What is this guy on about? I don't know. Go on, mess off." And we also get to see what is probably one of the most rewarding aspects is the Pikmin actually fending for themselves against like a spotty bulb. So they actually go out their way to attack this guy, showing that Olimar has actually done some good to the to the Pikmin population. You know, they've learned quite a lot from him. And as we shoot off, we have the heartfelt feeling that we as a player, you've made a good impact for these little guys, you know, on this planet. They've gone from literally having one of a species to flourishing and being able to take down their predators, which is, you know, when you look at it from a nature point of view, it's really cool. You know, I mean, we have disturbed an ecosystem, but the Pikmin are our favourite guys, so we'll let it slide. And real quick, just before we get into this video's outro, here is the enemy reel, which is a reward for getting 100% in the game. I really hope you guys enjoy this. Okay, everybody, this is the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed watching through this video. I know it's been quite a while since I've done an upload. I don't really have any excuses other than the fact that I've been busy. I am going to try and make a more active effort to keep pumping out content on a kind of bi-weekly basis, you know, give or take, you know, stuff happens, you know, you can't always be there to upload, you can't always waste your time editing stuff, especially when you're not really seeing a lot for it. But that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to keep talking about games that I love, things that can be improved in games. I will be making an Overwatch video very soon about the current season, as I'm sure everyone's ecstatic to hear. So, other than that, don't forget to have a nice day. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.